You all, I got something to tell you. They're still talking about Kevin Hart. Dr. Umar, he said he's not going to let up. He will not let up off of Kevin Hart. We're still going to talk about him as we should. And did you guys know that 50 Cent, Ja Rule, and some other celebrities are performing for Trump? Why are people so quiet about 50 Cent? I think his behind need to get dragged just as much as these other ones. So let's talk about it. I came across this video. I know a lot of times you guys enjoy us doing reaction videos. So I got another one for you. Yes, I do. So I need you guys to make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe here. All right? And comment because I love to see you guys comment. Check this out.
Let's get into this Kevin Hart thing because Kevin Hart came out after you criticized him. You criticized Kevin Hart,
and I stand by my criticism.
Kevin Hart thought he had an answer. He went on The Breakfast Club, sat down, and tried to explain his side of the Netflix roast controversy. What he didn't expect was for Dr. Umar to break down that exact interview line by line and expose something Kevin Hart never saw coming. This is the moment, Doctor. Umar didn't just respond to Kevin Hart's defense, he dismantled it. If you're new here, hit subscribe and turn on notifications because this breakdown is about to get uncomfortable and you don't want to miss where it goes.
Okay. What is your response to Kevin Hart's position on the Netflix comedy roast? He said that this is comedy. I didn't say the George Floyd joke, and I'm not responsible. What do you feel as Dr. Umar?
Here's where it starts. Kevin Hart goes on The Breakfast Club after his Netflix roast blows up online, and his entire defense is built around one sentence. He didn't personally say the joke about George Floyd. Someone else on that stage did. So in his mind, that makes it not his problem. Sounds simple, right? Just a technicality. It wasn't me. It was somebody else. But watch how fast that argument falls apart the second Dr. Umar gets a hold of it.
It again. Stop talking as if I said it. So when you say the family and the family's affected, I didn't disrespect the family. Showed up for the family when it happened. So I can explain to you like the world of the roast, X, Y, and Z. We talked. I get it, Kev. We had a great conversation. But that's what I mean when I say, hey, man, let me call the one person after. You do know that that's what this shit is a roast, but I just want you to know from my side, that man is on his own.
Dr. Umar doesn't come in loud right away. He starts calm, almost sympathetic, pointing out that Kevin Hart is trying to separate himself from a joke that happened at his own event in his own name in front of 13 million people. And this is the first crack in Kevin Hart's defense. He's not denying the joke happened. He's not saying it was wrong. He's saying he handled it privately, a phone call after the fact, while publicly, on record, he's still defending the roast format itself. Two different stories running at the same time.
I think with certain things,
not say it.
But their pushback is it happened at Kevin Hart's roast.
I don't have those answers.
This is the moment the interviewer, Loon, presses him directly. Not did you say it, nobody's arguing that. The question is bigger. Does it matter whose stage it happened on? Because at the end of the day, this was Kevin Hart's night, Kevin Hart's brand, Kevin Hart's name on the poster. That response again. Kevin Hart, the headliner, the one whose face is on the Netflix thumbnail, is saying he's not responsible for what happens on his own stage. That's the exact moment Dr. Umar zeroes in on, because if the host isn't responsible, then who is? Yelling.
If that's the case, Loan, why were 18 jokes removed from the final sets? Kim Kardashian joke, removed. Donald Trump joke, removed. Donald Trump wife's jokes, removed. Kevin Hart didn't allow anybody to make jokes about his children, nor should he have. Removed. 18 jokes, Loon.
This is where the episode turns from a conversation into an exposal. Doctor, Umar doesn't just argue emotion, he pulls a fact that changes the entire framing of the roast. 18 jokes. It's cut before the special even aired. Somebody, Netflix producer Kevin Hart himself, sat in an editing room and made deliberate decisions about which jokes were too risky, too sensitive, too likely to cause real damage. Trump was protected. Kim Kardashian was protected. Kevin's own kids were protected, and rightfully so. Yeah, but the George Floyd joke made the final cut.
Were taken from the final roast. So if you can exempt Donald Trump, if you can exempt Kim Kardashian, if you can exempt Melania Trump, if you can exempt your children as you should, why couldn't you exempt George Floyd? Why couldn't you exempt our enslavement? Why couldn't you exempt our lynchings? Why couldn't you exempt Cheryl Underwood's vagina?
This is the core of Dr. Umar's argument, and it's the part of the interview that's been clipped and shared everywhere since it aired. If the show could protect a former president, a reality TV billionaire, and a child from being joked about, the question isn't whether limits exist. The question is who decided which lines mattered and which ones didn't. That's not an emotional outburst. That's a structural argument. Somebody made a list of untouchable topics, and George Floyd, a man whose death sparked a global reckoning just a few years earlier, wasn't on it.
You really gonna let this damn Neanderthal get up here and make a joke about a black woman's vagina when a black woman's body has been the most disrespected, exploited, and objectified thing in American history? Our women been in abuse, still in abuse, and you're gonna let this man talk under my sister's clothes on international television with over 13 million viewers, and you're gonna tell me to just accept it because it's just comedy? All right, when y'all gonna do this to a Jewish comedian? I want to see a night full of Holocaust jokes. I want to see a night full of Jewish jokes. When we gonna get a Jewish comedian and roast them? Loon, you ain't gonna never get that. You ain't gonna never get that, because nobody but a Negro will let white people stunt all over the pain and shame of their people's history and current predicament and laugh it off as a joke. How dare Shane Gillis, that Neanderthal, get up there and say Cheryl Underwood's husband committed suicide? Obviously, black does crack if it's married to Cheryl and jumps off a roof. Is that a joke?
Dr. Umar doesn't stop at George Floyd. He widens the lens to another moment from the roast jokes made at Cheryl Underwood's expense. Whoa, jokes about her complexion, her appearance, delivered by a comedian in front of a massive audience. That phrase is doing a lot of work humiliation ritual. He's not describing a bad joke. He's describing something structural, repeated, aimed at specific people in a specific pattern. And according to him, Cheryl Underwood wasn't the only one who sat through it.
For Tiffany Haddish, for Draymond Green, and the only person up there who stood relatively strong is my beautiful butter almond sister, Regina Hall. Fine as heaven. And she sat up there like a gangster, hardly smiling at any of it. She wanted to walk off, but she maintained her composure for her friend Kevin Hart, and then he turned around. After our black women sat up there and dealt with that disrespect for 3 hours.
In the middle of this breakdown, Dr. Umar actually pauses to give credit to Regina Hall, who he says sat through the entire roast with visible composure, absorbing the same disrespect without giving the room the reaction it wanted. It's a small moment, but it matters because it shows this isn't just Dr. Umar attacking everyone in the room. He's drawing a clear line between the people who endured the night with dignity and the person, Kevin Hart, who he believes should have protected them and didn't.
This little midget gets his monkey ass up there and he says, I'm glad my lady friends came out. They all single. They a bunch of lonely bitches. This is how he closes out the roast. I wish you say something to me.
And this is where Dr. Umar says Kevin Hart lost him completely. After hours of jokes aimed at black women in that room, Kevin Hart's closing statement, the very last thing he says to send the night off, is a joke about them being single and lonely. Dr. Umar's response isn't really an argument at this point, it's disbelief. After everything those women sat through, the host's parting words weren't protection. They were another joke aimed the same direction.
Imagine how every dark-skinned black woman felt watching that. Imagine how every dark-skinned black girl watching that. That was not the roast of Kevin Hart. That was the public lynching of Black America. A roast is supposed to be about you, Loon, not George Floyd, not Cheryl Underwood, not 246 years of African slavery in America, not 200 years of lynching. The roast is supposed to be about Kevin Hart.
This is the sentence that's going to end up in every clip, every headline, every reaction video about this episode. Doctor, Umar draws a hard, direct line. A roast is supposed to be about the person being roasted, not an entire community, not its history, not its pain. Say what you want about how far that comparison goes, but strip away the intensity of the language for a second, and there's a real question underneath it. At what point does a roast stop being about the person on stage and start being about something much bigger that they never agreed to represent?
That's what you get a lot when you deal with comedy, and I'm a fan of comedy, but you get that a lot where it's like, yo, the jokes are jokes. I'm not offended.
If a joke is a joke, why did the transgenders try to get Dave Chappelle canceled? If a joke is a joke, why did the transgenders try to get Dave Chappelle canceled? If a joke is a joke, why did they cancel Kevin Hart several years ago from hosting, I think it was the Oscars, for some LGBT jokes he had on Twitter?
This is where the title of this video comes from, the double standard. Doctor, Umar brings up Dave Chappelle, who faced real cancellation attempts over jokes people found offensive. He brings up Kevin Hart himself, who lost the Oscars hosting gig years earlier over old tweets. His point is simple. Offense is taken seriously when it's coming from certain communities. But when black audiences say a joke crossed a line, the response is, it's just comedy, get over it. Doctor, Umar isn't asking Kevin Hart to agree with him. He's asking him to notice the pattern.
They are testing us to see how far we will go back to where we've been. They want to put black people back in Jim Crow. They want to put black people back in Reconstruction. And if we let them get away with an all-white lynching in the Carmelo case, if we let them get away with 2 Asian shop owners vindicated after murdering black people, Latasha Harlins in the back of her head, Cyrus Belton in his back, we gonna let Kevin Hart and Netflix get away with a night full of racist, defamatory, derogatory jokes about the black race?
And this is where Dr. Umar takes it past comedy entirely. He connects the roast to a string of legal cases and real-world outcomes he sees as part of the same pattern moments where he feels black victims weren't protected the way others are. Whether you agree with every comparison or not, this is the moment the conversation stops being about one Netflix special. In Dr. Umar's framing, Kevin Hart's roast becomes one data point in a much longer argument he's been making for years.
White people need to see we ain't all like that. And what did I tell you before, Loon? We're going to have a civil war in Black America. It ain't got to be violent. It could be intellectual. But we got to have a civil war to find out what side you on. Because if there's any Negro trying to justify Carmelo's sentence,
this is the line that's going to have the comment section split completely in half, Doctor. Umar says the community needs what he calls a civil war, not violent. He clarifies immediately, but intellectual. A reckoning over who stands. Give your take on that phrase. It tells you exactly how far this conversation has traveled, starting from one joke about George Floyd ending on a call for accountability across an entire community. That's not a small jump. That's the entire episode in one sentence. Here's the uncomfortable part. Nobody wants to say out loud, Kevin Hart's defense wasn't crazy on its face. Comedians push limits. Roasts are supposed to be brutal. That's the entire format. Nobody walks into a roast expecting kindness. But Dr. Umar's breakdown doesn't attack the existence of the roast. It attacks the selectivity of it. 18 jokes got cut for being too risky. The one about George Floyd didn't. It's not a comedy argument anymore. That's an editorial decision made by people with the power to protect whoever they wanted, and they didn't choose to protect that. Kevin Hart can say he didn't write the joke. He can say he's not responsible for every word said on his stage. But he can't say he had no say in what got cut and what didn't, because 18 other jokes prove somebody absolutely had that conversation. So the real question isn't whether Kevin Hart said the joke. It's why he's still defending the decision to keep it in while everything else got cut. Dr. Umar didn't just respond to Kevin Hart's Breakfast Club interview. He exposed the gap between what got protected and what didn't, and left Kevin Hart holding an explanation that doesn't add up. Drop your take in the comments. Was Dr. Umar right to call this a double standard, or is he reading too much into one roast? Smash that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss when this story updates.